started the recording, which I've got a couple of weeks to post about from our recorded sessions. If anyone wants to go back and rewatch those, that's the only reason I've been recording them. So if you're all ready, go ahead and begin journaling. What is the current state of your heart? What is the current state of your heart? So Nikki, we're just journaling. What is the current state of your heart? Okay. Whenever you're ready. I'm going to give, there's about 4 minutes. I'm going to give you guys plenty of time to journal that out. Just free write. What is the current state of your heart? So take about another minute here. Again, finish up the thought or thoughts that you're on. Alrighty, so we're going to come back to this in a moment, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to share about what you wrote about your ego last week. I believe the question is, what do you think your ego is? Or something along those lines. So I'll give you an opportunity to share what that is, but first I would ask you to share kind of the current state of your heart. But before we dive into that, we are going to do a little meditation. So just set your journal to the side, but have it handy. And finding your comfortable seat, close your eyes, bring your hands together in prayer position, and with your fingers pointing up, and place your thumbs directly in your heart space. And we're going to begin by taking 3 deep and full breaths here. First, I want you to feel yourself grounding down through the sits bones, through the legs, through whatever parts of the body are connected to whatever's holding you up, but ultimately connected to the earth. Find a little link through the spine, through the crown of the head. We'll begin with our first breath here. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, sigh it out. Another deep inhale. This time hold the breath at the top. Breathe in a little more air. Exhale, sigh it out. Big breath here, filling up the abdomen. Second, a little more air. A little more air. And exhale, sigh it out. And just let the breath come to a natural rhythm. Give permission to the places like the hands and the shoulders to soften. Invite the face to relax. While still holding integrity in the spine, give permission to the entire body to relax. And focus your awareness on your breath. Notice it flowing in and out. Notice the pause between the inhale and the exhale. Notice the pause between the exhale and the inhale. Now move your awareness, your focus, down into the spaces between the hands. Noticing the places with that touch between the fingers. And move that awareness completely into the palm chakras. If thoughts arise, simply notice them and let them float on by, brushing them aside, and refocus on the space between the palm chakras. And if the mind wanders, as is its nature, do not judge here. Simply acknowledge the thought and then bring the awareness back to the center of the palms. Honestly noticing the sensation, resting the awareness here. Now begin to move the awareness up between the brows, the third eye chakra. Notice the blackness behind the eyes, or perhaps you see colors or shapes. Just noticing. You can release focusing the awareness, but just continue being aware that you are aware. Just for today, do not worry. Just for today, do not anger. Just for today, judge nothing that occurs. Be impeccable with your word. Earn your living honestly. Just for today, do not live in fear, but instead allow every act to come from love. Honor your parents, your teachers, and your ancestors, all those who came before you, and all who will come after you, by simply doing your best. Show gratitude and respect to yourself and to all living beings. Know that you are worthy and loved exactly as you are. You are surrounded by an infinite sea of love. You are a divine spark of consciousness, life force energy manifest as human, perfectly imperfect, and a part of all living things, sharing the same breath of life. Just for today, do not assume. Just for today, do not take things personally. You're asked to awaken in awareness to that which is, that which will be, and that which always has been. Forgive fear, hate, shame, guilt, anger, and resentment. First in yourself, and then in others. Find solitude and stillness today. Count your many blessings. Begin to deepen the breath. Slowly bringing your awareness back into this space. Just slowly open the eyelids a crack. It's letting in a little bit of light. And then we're going to rub the palm chakras together, creating a little bit of heat. When that feels good and warm, you can slow that down and let the hands come a few inches apart. Just feeling the energy between the palms. Maybe bringing the hands a little closer together, feeling the energy become more dense. Pulling the hands apart. Just noticing the sensation. Bring the right palm to rest on the heart space and the left palm to rest on the solar plexus. I'm sending that healing, loving light, that energy into the body. Feel gratitude and love. So there's absolutely no rush. But when you're ready, just let the eyes open fully. Before finding larger movement in the body, just notice what you notice. If you'd like to find any movement the body is craving, any small stretches, movement with the head or neck, you're invited to do so. So if anyone would like to start by sharing the current state of your heart, and then and then if you'd like to share anything about what you wrote last week, Kenneth, you go ahead.
All right. I wrote the current state of my heart. My heart is a state of radical acceptance, releasing control and fully surrendering and trusting the heart space. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read this. I wrote it really quickly and it's all jumbled. My handwriting is not the best. But trusting the heart space and its purposeful guidance. When I listen to my heart, its call, I use discernment to distinguish it from ego and from the soul. I begin to trust more, release more, and love more, finding a state of neutrality and just being and existing in oneness with the environment around me and not passing judgment on my experience, but still willing to remain in the heart space and listen to its call and its wisdom and make conscious moves towards what makes me feel alive and most vibrant.
I see you, I hear you, I feel you, I am you. Thank you for sharing.
Hey gang, how we doing?
What's up?
Okay, so you said, hey man. So we're supposed to share about the one we did last week and this one?
If you want to, yes.
Just...
Or we can just share the heart space, and then we can all go back around again. Let's do that. Let's just share heart space.
Okay.
And if we all want to, if you want to go back around what you wrote.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, holy shit, you guys. Mine has been an interesting journey as of late. A lot of intensity for me. A lot of stuff on dependency has been coming up for me. And I guess I didn't realize that I was as much of a dependent as I am within relationships. I've always viewed myself as a fiercely independent person, and I have this very strange dichotomy where I'm either like stupidly independent or just like, oh my god, I need affection now or my soul is going to explode. I can't handle it without having it. So yeah, I've been dealing with that, and I've also been I guess I didn't really like start looking into codependency until I started going to Al-Anon, which is like the sister company to Alcoholics Anonymous. It's like for family members and stuff of alcoholics. And I don't know. I just feel like this like codependency might be suppressing my evolution into higher consciousness because I'm afraid to let go. I'm just living in that fear state where it's like, oh, I know that this is the choice that I should be making. Definitely, like that's toxic as hell, and for some reason I'm still letting it like slide. And at what point do I like get to that intensity of hurt that then my like awareness is like, oh no, like okay, there you go. You should probably stop that now, rather than just like continually going in that loop. Like that's neurotic. That is like the definition of like psychosis. Like, but I feel like we all tend to sit in that because I don't know, we're afraid to die alone or something. Like so yeah, I'm there, and yeah, I've been in an intense state of hurt lately, and I don't know, it almost makes it worse that I allowed that like these people to hurt me, and then like it's the worry of like, am I really just overreacting, or is it as bad as I think it is? Yeah, so you know, that's my little clusterfuck. If you guys want to like add in stuff or like make comments, you are welcome to. I know we're supposed to like tell you
I'm
you can.
definitely down to chime in.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm definitely down to chime in because
totally
I've experienced that as well.
Yep, same here. 100%.
Yeah, I love it. Codependency and the twin flame. We are in the back end of that era, and I do think it's an era that we all go through in our life. So yeah, let's break this down for sure. Let's do it. So Taylor, you're up. You want to go?
Sure. So here lately, I have been stressed. A lot of things play in my factor every week. You know, I'm going to nursing school. I still work full time. I'm a mom, and it's really hard to, I don't know. I feel like I'm like, my heart is like beating 100 miles a minute, just even talking about it. It's not something that I really express, and it's not something
Mm-hmm.
that I really get to, I guess, relate to other people. Um, but it's hard. It's hard to balance everything. And then again, I question myself when I'm like, okay, am I just throwing something else on top of me that, am I capable of doing? Am I able going to be, or am I going to be able to accomplish? Um, so right now I do have a lot of stresses. Um, what's nice though, um, I did end up finding out that my job is actually letting some people go for just a week. And I am very grateful for it because I have asked and asked, and it's like I've recognized it myself. I'm like, you know what? I just need a break. I just need 1 week to where I can focus on everything. I just need 1 week where I can, enjoy the space that I'm in instead of having to go to work. I'm being, my school has switched to being online. So literally Mondays, I'm online for 4 hours. Thursday, I'm online for 8 hours. The weekends I work, and one day throughout the week I work. So really I only have like 2 days off in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And my schedule, I don't know. Maybe I'm an overachiever. Maybe I don't realize what I'm putting myself through.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know what I want, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I do want a lot out of life, but maybe the signs are trying to tell me, hey, you need to slow down. You need to focus on yourself. I've been seeing a lot of triple numbers here lately, and I've seen this for months and months and months. I have been looking into it a whole lot. 333 was one of the current numbers that I've seen, and I've also seen a lot of purple. So I've been doing a little bit of research behind the numbers and the colors. I'm more entwined, I guess, with those. Um, I don't know, I've during this space and especially like during a quarantine, things like that. Um, I'm just realizing, I guess the whole gist of it is how I'm putting myself through things that maybe I should say no to. And I think that's where I need to learn my boundaries at out of all of this. Not only that, but to just come back to my true self, my higher self. It speaks to me every day, even though, my human form is like, fuck you. I don't want to listen to that. Like, let me just keep doing what I'm doing. But yeah, um, I've been dealing a lot with codependency too. I realize that I'm not as independent as I claim to be sometimes. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it is to give in and to give that other person, like, you know, ability to carry on something that you can't do. And that's really hard for me. I guess I do have a lot of pride in that. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at for the week.
Okay. I see you. I hear you. I am you. Thank you for sharing. You're right, Nikki. Yeah, you're up. If you want to share about the current state of your heart and then chime in on any codependency stuff, please do.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. All right. The current state of my heart is filled with a little bit of sadness today and uncertainty. I found that expressing my feelings out loud to my roommate really helped me process a lot of the internal anxiety that was going on, and that's what I wanted to just recommend for you guys too. You'll find that, like, even if you're unsure about something, whether it's like codependency or like a move you have to make next, if you just hear yourself talking about it, it's almost like you can figure out your own solution to your own problem without getting external advice from other people. It sounds silly, but that's what's worked for me. If I close myself off and I'm not talking to people, I have a harder time figuring things out that I need to do, and I feel kind of like, blocked inside. Um, so that helped, but I know that this feeling of sadness and uncertainty will pass. Um, as Kenny taught me, emotions are temporary and they can change at any time. Remembering to do more things from my highest self. And I have a lot of love in addition to this sadness, a lot of love for my family, and just putting more faith in the universe in this process has put me into the most ideal situation I could be in right now, and I'm very grateful for that.
Oh, that's wonderful. I see you. I hear you. I am you. Thank you for sharing.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, let's, if we want to go around again, and Logan requested that we talk about codependency. Yeah, so Kenneth, you want to share anything about that?
Yeah, sure. Definitely would like to chime in. I was having issues with that as well. And I was figuring that out today, actually. I did an oracle reading on it, and a lot of cards came up about like just personal freedom and standing in my own sovereignty and not seeking validation from external sources and seeking validation from my own spirit. So checking in with my heart space and saying, hey, like, what's going on? Do you need to be validated on certain issues, or what's going on in your life? And actually feeling those and releasing them, just giving your will up and being surrendering to that emotion and saying, hey, okay, I need to feel this right now, and then let go and let it go off into the universe or wherever that emotion needs to go. It's easier said than done, definitely, but when you do it, it's so freeing and you feel so much lighter, and it's definitely like the thing that I'm going to be doing more often, because I can see a big change in my own personal development and my own headspace when I do actually listen to my heart space and not try to control certain situations in my life. Just give up my will to the entire force of the universe, not actually trying to force something to happen or force anything to occur in my life. Just being and being. It's like what I
Yes.
say. Being and being, and that's a beautiful thing because you don't have to attach to anything. There's no attachment, just being in your own spirit and allowing the flow to go where it needs to go.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much for sharing.
Yep, no problem.
Taylor or Nikki, do you all have anything else to add to the codependency before I give a little info?
Sure. I have a book actually, and I'm trying to. It does have. It's like it's called something codependency. I haven't picked it up in a while, and that's probably my sign to go back and read it now. But I cannot really remember the author. I know it's a woman, and it does speak about codependency. And I read that book about 2 years ago, and my mind was literally blown after that, and how every single word in that book was like the person that I had become. And it was awful. I felt like a complete trash. Not only did I allow myself to basically succumb to like this being of just negativity, of just ugliness, pure control, pure manipulation. I was like, what the heck? You know what I mean? Because, looking back, I was never that person. And I realized the hard way that when you are around certain people, you know, their well-being kind of, I guess, in a way, holds a little spot above you as if they're in control. So then, you know, you become aware of, okay, well, you know, what can I do for this person to please this person? How can this person please me? And it's a very, what's the word here? It's toxic. It's very toxic. It's not healthy at all. Um, so yeah, codependency, I've tried to stay away from that since then. But it's very hard to let yourself get back into that space. Or it's not very hard. It's very easy to let yourself get back into that space. And then it's very hard sometimes to actually admit to yourself, okay, wow, this is, you know, maybe I'm asking too much of myself. Maybe eh, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in with codependency. But you know, the book that I have, um, actually during my time off this next week, I'm actually going to read that. So, it's it's still a lot to learn from. Um, yeah, I see it as something that I don't ever want to become again. That's my thought on it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have anything they want to say? I got something I want to say about it, but okay. So I'll just share a quick snippet about codependency. I am a codependency addict, but I'm recovering. So, have been for like decades, and that was part of my spiritual path actually, was to work through that. And I also know another key part of my spiritual path is to help teach other people that. So Logan, if you want to have a more in-depth conversation, I'd love to have that with you like later this week. But just a little snippet is codependency is actually really selfish in the fact that you're trying to get validation by setting expectations that you want someone else to meet, and maybe even expectations for yourself, but expectations for someone else to meet, which is damn near impossible. And um, it just leads to a deep sense of um, lack more than anything, I think, especially in relationships. So one thing that I wanted to learn about was interdependence, because in relationships, you know, it's like, where's the line between being independent and codependent? And like, there's got to be, and so I started to study interdependence, and that changed my life. And Taylor, I'm not 100% sure because I haven't read the book, but I have had several friends talk about the book Codependent No More: How to Stop Controlling Others and Start Caring for Yourself by
I
Melody B.
believe that's it.
That's it.
Yes.
So I'll post that link from Amazon in the group, just so you guys have the link. But yeah, the whole like last decade, as we were like hurtling through space, and kind of the era was the twin flame era, and learning how in our relationships they're reflections of the things that we need to be learning, and how to not put your stuff on other people. So one of the books that helped me the most in breaking my codependency was actually and also in working with my ego, was the Toltec Four Agreements. So that is a really powerful book, and it's a book that, you know, I read through it and was like, oh, I'm gonna come back to this book a lot, and especially on the taking things personally piece, because that's a very intense part of codependency. I grew up with a mother who made sure I was codependent on her. So kind of wading through that and healing that past emotional trauma was a big key to that. So yeah, I'm totally here as a guide. That is definitely one of my fortes, is working through codependency. So yeah, all right. So I would like to open up the floor if anybody wants to read, and we'll have to keep this portion a little short, but if anybody wants to share a bit about what they wrote last week about the ego, and then I'm going to do a reading on that. Yeah, Kenneth, go ahead.
Okay. I wrote down like last week, that the ego is aspects of yourself that you consider you, thoughts, beliefs, constructs, and what is this word that I wrote? I'm trying to say it. Hold on. And constructs that you attach to, pretty much. What you think is really what you're like, and it's just like we become those actual, like, we kind of attach to those belief systems, and that reflects in our reality. So it stems from separation and distinguishes us from others. So we're constantly trying to distinguish us from everything else, or separate ourselves from everything else. And it's clingy, and it's really a self-preservational, like, kind of concept, and it controls our it's like a survivalist mode, and it controls everything that we do through our senses, basically.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Me next. So my definition of ego is a little more Freudian in nature. Kind of id being the unconscious desires and like need for food, sex, sleep, that kind of thing. Super ego being like our highest moral self, like what we kind of reach for but don't really ever achieve, and can kind of be a negative thing sometimes if we have that expectation of ourselves. And then the ego is that inner, like, that middle point where it's like it is our conscious self, like it is who we are, and how we come off that space between trying to be a moral being and having the desires that is human, the id. And like this is us just trying to like exist in the middle between that. I find that I have to have compassion for kind of both ends of the spectrum, and that helps me a lot, because I'm not perfect. I'm never going to be perfect, and I'm always reaching for that super ego, but I don't know. I'm not a fucking avatar. I'm not Jesus Christ. Like I can't be perfect. Like I'm just human, like you guys, and I'm doing my healing so that like I can help other people, kind of reach a higher vibrational level. But that's not like it's not my job to be, like I guess in the Hawkins scale, like above. I don't know. I think in the Avatar range, it's like between 800 and 1,000. That's the level of like Gandhi and Jesus and all those guys. So I'm not trying to get there. I'm just trying to be a good human. And yeah, I don't know. I guess ego. I have an interesting relationship with ego because I've had people tell me in the past that I can be egotistical, but I don't know if that's just their way of like their weird codependency issues, like getting on to me. Because like I know I have my own codependency issues, but I've also dated people with codependency issues. So like sometimes I get people who are very insecure, and they like use egotistical and insult to manipulate, control me. It's like
Say,
the
say that last
essentially like
line.
calling to
Logan, you're cutting in and out. Just the last like 2 sentences. You've been cutting it.
sorry,
No, you're fine.
one bar, and I'm kind of fluctuating between, so that's why. I was just saying, yeah, I've had partners who are insecure in the past and who were codependents as well, try to use egotistical as more of like an insult almost to like kind of reach to my yogi self where I'm like, oh shit, like I don't want to be being egotistical, like maybe I should like take a look at this. But really I find it like, sometimes it's just a manipulation. It's just them being insecure, trying to manipulate that situation to their benefit. Like one of my past partners, like I have a really close personal relationship with music. That has always been something that's really, really important to me. It's like one of my spiritual outlets and a community thing that's really important to me as well.
Mhm.
And one of my exes, I don't think she liked the way that like people reacted to my YouTube videos and like the affection that I got from music. So she convinced me that music was an ego thing for me, that I was really just using it to flirt with girls. And I was like, it fucked me up for a while. Like she had me convinced in my head that it was, and I stopped playing completely. Like, and only recently did I start playing again, at least with any kind of consistency. So yeah, sometimes ego is a confusing thing for me because like other people try to influence using it almost. I don't know. Maybe that's some deep level stuff, but
No,
yeah,
that's
that's kind of where I'm at. Like I guess I think I pretty much shared what I had and like way more. I kind of went
thank
on a
you.
tangent there.
No, thank you for sharing. Yeah. I'm just gonna chime in just a smidge here and just say like the ego is definitely judgmental. That's like, in fact, if you're judging, that's totally your ego, judging yourself or judging others. And a lot of times, the ego does serve the purpose. We're not trying to like murder our egos. That's not what this is about. But awareness is key. And what she did, for example, that young lady who convinced you to stop playing music, was she created an illusion which you believed, which is also part of your ego. The one who wants to believe, and insecurity and confidence are also parts of the ego, but there's false confidence, which has insecurity behind it. And then there's true power, which is knowing your authentic self and being tied with spirit and being led by spirit and being in that power from a knowing, from a deep, deep knowing. And that's ultimately what we're working on, is just living from our heart space. The ego is something that's created in the mind from when thought was born, and instead of living from our intuition. So I'm going to expand on that in a little bit. But does Nikki want to share thoughts on ego?
Yeah, I apologize. I can't find a well-lit spot to sit in to see you guys, but I'm working on it. So I was a little bit confused about what the ego was, but I feel that from what everybody has said, it's like a collection of all of those things. My original thought was that the ego is the buildup of negative thought patterns in our minds, which leads to things like that we want, like our desires, our selfishness, maybe like perspectives of other people that we have unconsciously. Um, in my yoga video, he says, you know, you're born into your ego body. So naturally, we have an ego. And I believe that these thoughts do kind of manifest in our body if we don't take care of ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, that kind of stuff. So I find that for me personally, if I can do my practice every day, even if it's just like 5 or 10 minutes of yoga, I can at least balance some of those little kinks, and it helps me balance my mind a little bit more too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you for sharing. I also love that you're outside, so it's totally fine. Dark.
Thank you.
All right. Taylor, did you have anything you want to share about ego You don't have to, just totally an option.
Ego I see as like the bad within us. Ego is very selfish, very stereotypical. Um, I do have awareness that it does arise from our consciousness. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I feel like I need to look into more about the ego, and all of your all's responses are amazing. I've been writing down a whole bunch of stuff in my journal. I do this every time that we have a chat, and it's like I learn something new every time from each of you guys. So yeah,
Wonderful. Thank you.
thank you.
Yes, so all of you all are correct. All of these perceived notions of the ego, that's kind of the essence of ego, is an illusion. It does serve a purpose, but it doesn't, it eventually kind of, as we grow up, as we move through the different stages of childhood, our ego serves a purpose. But it's kind of like the part of us that where the growth gets stunted, and then we grow into our adult form, and we either choose to stay unconscious and live with the mask of the ego. You can think of the many masks and the many roles that you play are all parts of your ego. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I like to think of the ego as a part of you that is not necessarily your inner child, but it is a child that needs help growing out of old thought patterns. Another way you can think of it is like an old person who doesn't want to change their ways. But if we work with them, when we become aware of them, which you all are aware of different aspects of your ego, as you just shared, and those are the things that you want to send compassion and love and forgiveness to. There's a lot of forgiveness work with ego that does beautiful, powerful transformation just by simply waking up and saying, I forgive myself. And Logan, I'm going to use this since we're talking about codependency, but I forgive myself for being codependent. I forgive myself for seeking validation in others, and just so on and so forth. And you'll start to see they're like, those forgiveness statements are like keys to where parts of your ego are like locked in place. And there's options, there's ability, because we all have the choices to make for them to grow and change. But for now, they're going to stay in their comfort zone because your ego is what attaches to an identity. So we've been on the call for about an hour now, so I'm going to give everybody probably a 5 to 7 minute break, but we'll say 5 minutes. So if everyone could get back here, oh no, we'll say 7 minutes. If everybody could get back here at 9:06 Eastern time, just go use the restroom, grab some more water. I got to go get more water. And then we're going to move forward with a couple of learning portion and techniques. So I'll meet you back here at 9:06.
It's late in the evening. She's wondering what clothes to wear. She puts on her makeup and brushes her long blonde hair. And then she tells me, "Do I look okay?" Said, "My darling, you are wonderful tonight." We go to the party and everyone turns to see this beautiful lady walking around with me. Then she asks me, "Do I feel okay?" I said, "My darling, I feel wonderful tonight. I feel wonderful because I see the love light in your eyes, and the beauty of it all is you just don't realize how much I love you." It's time to go home now, and I've got an aching head. I give her my car key, she puts me to bed, and then I tell her as she turns out the light, said, "My darling, you are wonderful tonight." Sleep now under my skin, make sure you try to conjure the wind and ease my mind. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Somebody call up to your brother, he's calling out your name. Oh, you couldn't help out your own neighbor, couldn't tell it to his face. You were fucked up by the blame. Oh, you guys are back.
Hey,
Thank
what's
you
up?
for sharing. That was beautiful.
Need something to kill the time.
Thanks. Yeah, don't ever stop playing. She was totally wrong, so.
I'll just keep playing during the entire session, just be our background music.
What if I can compete with it? Alrighty. Thank you, Logan. That was beautiful. Thank you. And you can. So I did want to check in with everybody and let you know that next week, I actually, let me go here. I've actually updated the, nope. Nope. I've actually updated our schedule with a little more information. I want to also talk about, of course, now I can't find it, but it's in here somewhere. Talk about that next week. We're going to be doing the, you'll be receiving your Reiki 1 attunement. And so we're going to do that during this class time. And so what that'll look like is we will spend the majority of class time receiving the attunements and then discussing the experience afterwards. And while I can't obviously work on all of you at exactly the same time, but just like we would do if we were like how we will do when we're actually present, is the rest of us will meditate and just focus on being present while I'm moving through each of you and giving you all your virtual attunements. So if you have any questions about that, you're not going to know the breakdown of the attunement until you get to, and think if you choose Reiki 3 or Master level, will you begin to learn the mechanics of an attunement. And Reiki 1 and 2, you're simply supposed to experience what you experience. But I will answer any questions that I can within that realm. But I wanted to show you guys this, and you have access to this. It's in the Google Drive. We are in this week here. We're going to be moving through chapter 6, which is Reiki techniques. And then next week, we're going to be receiving the Reiki 1 attunement. So again, if you have any questions about that, just let me know. But with that being said, I wanted to ask you all how your cleansing process is going. And I was going to have you guys journal about this, but I'm just going to ask you. So if anyone has any questions or they want to state anything, I'm just trying to bring about remembrance of working on that cleansing process. If anyone has questions about what document in our Google Drive to look at to help you with that technique, I am here to answer those questions right meow. Anybody?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was doing really good for like the past 5 months, and then when I had to actually do a cleanse, it was like I did the opposite. It was challenging for me. I felt so good that I had sugar, a little bit of coffee today, but then the past, week I was really good. It's just I'm learning to forgive myself for those little moments because it's not worth freaking out about it. And I guess I'm just curious as to what everybody's been eating so I can get some ideas because I'm really sick of peanut butter.
That's great. Does anyone want to share how their cleansing process is going and any tips for Nikki on what to eat? Because that's a great question, and I've obviously got some info on that. But
Yeah, my cleansing process, I mean, I've been doing really freaking awesome all quarantine, like just because I've had so much time on my hands. Like I've just been exercising a bunch and kind of following the daily routines, and that really helps, like having that set thing that I follow every morning. Because if I follow the one thing in the morning, I still feel accomplished if I got that list done. and it usually only takes like an hour tops. Granted, I've been spending a lot more time meditating lately because I've really needed that like extra support.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll admit, like the last couple of days, I ate like shit. Like I had a major relapse just because, like, you know, emotions come up and you're just like, fuck everything. I'm just gonna watch anime for like 9 hours today, and you know, eat Cliff Bars and like whatever comfort food is in like toaster strudel. I don't know, whatever you have on hand that is feel good snack comfort food. So I mean, we all have those little slip ups, and I don't think coffee and a little sugar is gonna hurt you too much. And like I think you're right to you know, forgive yourself for that. I'm like I honor you for doing that. Like kind of gives me the strength to do the same. Like it's okay to have just like a crap couple of days, and yeah, we're gonna come out on top in the end, you know.
Oh, never mind. I lost it.
But yeah, absolutely. It's right. We're perfectly imperfect beings, and the cleansing process is not about being 100,000% perfect. It's just guidelines. And so, if you've been doing, cleansing for a week or 5 months, then that's better than, and then you have a day or two where you're off. That's absolutely like, that's amazing. That's wonderful. That should be celebrated. It's very easy that we live in a culture that tends to point out and really focus on the bad. So you're doing wonderful, doing awesome. So yeah.
Ooh, sorry. I was gonna share food things and I got distracted by, you know, talking about my, you know, last couple of days. So are you trying to avoid meat or no?
Yeah.
You mentioned peanut butter, so I kind of assumed that. Something that helps me, you know, get a little extra like protein and like feel full. I love quinoa. So like doing like a Mediterranean style salad, like with just like a butt ton of olive oil, because I have a bunch of fat on my food. Then like as long as it's good fats, it doesn't bother me. And in fact, they're actually showing now that like um, those types of fat, like olive oil, oils from fish and things like that, are really good for you, and grass-fed meat as well. But um, pretty much, I think what Betsy was talking about with meat specifically is most meats are contaminated with lots of antibiotics and things like that. That will just tank you. So if you can get good quality stuff, you know, that like say you have like a local butcher that like has farmers that you trust and things like that. Like I got a farm, so I can get really high quality meat, so I don't have to worry about that. So that's why I'm still eating meat.
Yep.
But yeah, with the Mediterranean salad, like I'll throw some hummus on there, some quinoa, or some like long grain rice. And then like I like putting caramel olives on mine just because I love olives. I've been trying to avoid nightshade vegetables, which there's a lot of them. You'd be surprised, but like a very large percent of the population has sensitivities to nightshades. So like tomatoes, peppers, I
Potatoes.
think potatoes. Yeah, that's a hard one for me because I'm obsessed with potatoes.
Yeah, it is a hard place. Tomatoes, eggplants,
butter, all the butter,
and potatoes, yellow potatoes. If you get purple or, excuse me, just like regular potatoes, if you get yellow or purple potatoes, though, those are actually full of antioxidants. So, yeah, with the nightshade plants, it's really just like kind of test them out and see, but I've heard that before as well. And then with the good fats, there are actually some of the studies that they've come out with is that good fats like oil, avocado, like you said, I don't know if like nuts and quinoa count as that, but
that's more for protein.
Protein, yeah. Those will help you. Good fats will help you curb sugar cravings. And then also for protein, I do a lot of lentils when I'm gearing more towards vegetables. It's easier for me to do, and then just like a lot of fresh veggies. I do a lot of stir fry. because it's my favorite.
Mhm.
So many flavors, and I can throw in all of the herbs and just like make it really comfort foody. So, and also really healthy. So, Kenneth, did you have some that you wanted to share about diet?
Yeah, a little bit. I was doing stir fry as well because that's the easiestly accessible thing that I can get to at the moment. Currently, I am really broke, so it's just like I have to figure out ways around that to figure out different methods of how to get my nutrients. So I did go to the fruit market and I got a ton of fruit, a ton of vegetables, and I've been munching on those lately. So I'll just munch on a carrot every now and then, or munch on an apple every now and then, or munch on something that's like more high vibrational foods. I got some grapefruits, some different kind of like strawberries and such like that. So those help me out get through certain times where I'm craving sugar or craving something that to sustain myself. Also, like what you were saying earlier about like nuts, that really helps as well. Like I noticed that is something that it's like a go-to snack for me. But usually I'm trying to eat salads, and I'll like sometimes I'll throw some protein on there, but it's just because I'm so accustomed to eating meat that it's just like I'm trying to detach from that. So I'm slowly pulling myself away from continuously digesting meat substances. So it's been different. I noticed a difference in my mood and a difference in my like state of being. So it's really like I feel lighter. That's probably the highest way that I could put it. It's just like I just feel lighter. I feel like I'm better.
Yeah. Yes, that's awesome. Thank you. Um, yes, and Kenneth touched on something that I very much want to bring to y'all's attention, and that is digestion. Um, if you don't have a digestive enzyme, I strongly recommend it. Now, if you're having like more fiber and if you've switched to more plant-based, you're going to notice a difference in your digestion. But digestion is super, super important, not just in digesting our food, but you have to think of like all the emotions and all the toxins that are built up and just anything that is connected or in our body, in our energy field even. Our internal digestion is going to reflect how well we digest those emotions, how well we digest that stress. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to show you guys a few things that I use. I don't use all of them at the same time. I kind of alternate and just like go off my intuition. One is company Arbonne. I'm sure most people have heard of this. I do not sell this. But Arbonne, they have really high quality products. And if you're interested in any of this, I can link you up. I am a doTERRA rep. That's recent, but Digest Zen is something I've begun putting in my water. I noticed an immediate difference with that. Also, just things you can do at home if you don't want to go out and buy these products. Ginger and lemon in a full glass of water once a day is really, really good. So just like chop up a little bit of ginger, and if you have a fresh lemon, like half of that is good. But if you don't, if you just have like everyone has like a lemon bottle usually in their fridge, that works. And if you're okay with animal products, I use this dietary supplement. I don't know where my camera is at. It's called Zypan from Standard Process, and my intuitive nutritionist put me onto that. So those are just some options.
What is in Zypan?
Um,
Is it like a multivitamin or like?
It's not. It is just for digestion. It does have some probiotics in it. It is made from, if you guys want to know what animal products this comes from, it comes from a bovine pancreas, a bovine spleen, and ovine spleen. And then it has ammonium chloride, betaine hydrochloride, which I don't know what any of this stuff is, but I have asked several practitioners that I trust if this is a good product. I've asked my pendulum, and they're all like, yes. So that's usually if I'm like, okay, I know I'm not going to understand everything that's good for me, but if it doesn't, and it doesn't have 1,000 different products in it, it just has like 4 or 5 products in it. So, but again, it is made from animals, so if you're vegetarian, you won't want to use this, or vegan or whatever. But
yeah, speaking to digestion aids, getting extra fiber in your diet is super important. Another thing that I like to do on a daily basis is smoothies, because that's a way for me to get a lot of different things together, like cheap. So I can get fresh fruit. Well, not fresh fruit; it's frozen fruit, and that's usually pretty cheap. Like I can get a big bag of it at like Aldi's or Kroger's, usually organic too, for like $3, and that'll usually last me like 5 smoothies or something like that. So I usually do that. I grab a couple bananas, strip those down, throw those in the freezer, because bananas always taste better frozen when you make them into smoothies. And then I mix that with. I personally use collagen powder. Like I like to get like you can get those supplements pretty cheap. Like a whole container of it will be like $10. Um, just know that that's like animal joints and things like that. But it's super good for your joint health, your hair and skin health. Just pretty much all of your body uses collagen to build off of. I like to put fiber in there. The common type is psyllium husks. It'll be another powder-based thing. Also pretty cheap, and you can get it at most places. What else do I put in there that's important? If you have a probiotic, that's awesome. It's completely useless if you don't take a fiber supplement with it, or if you don't eat a bunch of veggies. So there's probiotics, but there's also prebiotic fiber, and it has to have that fiber for probiotic to bind to. Otherwise, it will not stay in your system. It'll just pass right through you, and you're just buying a really expensive like thing that you're just gonna like destroy in your stomach. So yeah, pretty simple stuff. If you have some kind of like, if you like upping the fat intake in your body, which I do because I know that fat is not bad for me. Adding something like coconut oil to your smoothies, like a small amount, like a teaspoon, tablespoon, something like that, is really helpful as well. Note that the more that you add, you have a higher increased likelihood of shitting yourself. So if you put like 5 tablespoons or something like that, you're going to be in trouble. Yeah, make it simple. Make it whatever you want, like whatever fruit you like. Blueberries are really high in polyphenols. That's super good for brain health. But do it intuitively. If you like strawberries, throw those in there, or red raspberries, or bananas are kind of high in sugar, but like I love the taste of bananas. I always throw a scoop of peanut butter in there for taste. Sometimes I'll put like a hunk of dark chocolate in there because I like the little flakes that'll float around. Dark chocolate is also really high in polyphenols. Yeah, these are all like really cheap things. The smoothie will end up costing like, $1 or $2, and you just have like the super nutrient dense, delicious thing with all kinds of fiber and stuff like that. If you do end up getting a probiotic, though, note that if it is not one that is stored in like a cooled like thing, then it's useless. Like all of the probiotics are dead in it. If you buy it off the shelf, like all of that has died because it is a living supplement. I guess from a vitamin thing, I do have a couple more that are just like everyone should be taking these things. A good vitamin D3 supplement.
But vitamin D has to be taken with something else. Is it calcium?
No, it is vitamin K and vitamin A, I believe.
And if you take a multivitamin, those will be in there. But yeah, vitamin D. Agreed. Good.
Yeah, that's probably the most important one. Note that you also have to get sun, because the fat soluble vitamin D is important, but it doesn't activate until you get sunlight, and then it turns water soluble and circulates through your system. And then magnesium is probably my other big one. Like if I had to pick one supplement over everything, it'd be magnesium. There's tons of different types though, so do your research on that. I personally use a brand called magnesium breakthrough. It's like a bunch of different types in a what's called a stack, or like multiple things in one pill. But you can take a loading dose on that, but usually about 1 gram a day is what you're looking for. And same thing with the coconut oil. If you're taking too much of it, you can cause what we like to call disaster pants. Yeah,
Well,
other supplements like are
yeah.
good too, but those are probably my most important ones. If you're a lady, iodine's super important for your thyroid.
Renals, yeah.
And if you guys take any kind of genetics quiz, like if you have the data from 23andMe, you can go into your profile and request the raw data, and then pay like $5 to plug it into something called Promethease, and then it'll give you like all the health data, so you don't have to buy like that extra $100 packet or whatever.
Mm.
For
Yeah,
the health
Logan,
stuff.
could you and I combine and make a kind of a living, breathing document in the Google Drive? Because this is really, really good information.
Yeah.
And it's information like I had to get from going to a nutritionist, but it was extremely helpful in getting on the right supplements, just in having clarity of mind, really, but also clarity of body. It's important. Yeah. Yeah, you know so much.
For sure.
Yeah, that was a lot of information. Thank you so much. I'm a little lost
Sorry,
in
I
this
just kind of
department.
like.
I have, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
make a
keep going.
document. Don't worry, and we'll throw up links to everything, so that way, and also like don't get overwhelmed by this. Like it takes time, and give yourself that. You know, if you just focus on like, okay, I'm just gonna start taking magnesium, and give yourself like just to focus on whatever one supplement your intuition is telling you to work with, and notice what that does for you in your body over a period of time, especially if it's something you're introducing. But yeah, like a solid
Yeah,
vitamin.
and some of these things do require loading doses or like a time period for them to actually start working. Magnesium is one of those things because it's not fat soluble. It's kind of like this weird in between thing, but it does take time to actually cause the effects. And for me, I actually had a really weird experience with magnesium, where I got exposed to toxic mold over the winter. And that causes you to dump just like a ton of minerals. And I was magnesium deficient, like really bad. And it started causing like a bunch of anxiety attacks and things like that. And as soon as I started taking high dose magnesium, like enough that I was having like trouble in the restroom, but I knew that I needed to be taking that. The first time I took it at high dose, I almost felt like I got high. Like it was the same feeling that like you get from like smoking weed almost. Like I just got like really, like I don't really smoke. I've smoked a couple of times, but also smoking weed does dump magnesium as well. Also, if you do regularly smoke, then that is something to be considerate about. Make sure you're taking a supplement to counteract the effects of the magnesium dump. But pretty much magnesium is super, super important because it is required for over like 2,000 different gene functions. So if you don't have it, you're like absolutely screwed. Like like you'll be chronically stressed. Like for me, once I started taking it again, because I've always been a pretty zen person, it was like a wall went up between me and stress, and that was a really weird experience to like have almost subjectively. Just because I like when you're in it, you're just like, oh my god, everything is crazy and horrible, and like all these things are happening, and then to just like have this weird barrier go up, and you're like, oh, okay, why was I so upset? Like, it's good stuff.
Yes, yes. Having the right supplements will make a huge difference in balancing your moods, and just helping you to just kind of function throughout your day, really. And a lot of times we get very used. We can, what's the term? we can become comfortable in our discomfort, and we can allow our discomfort to become our norm. And so when that happens, we're very unaware of what we're unaware of. And a lot of that is not having the right nutrients. So that's kind of the point of this like cleansing process, is to help you digest better, including digesting the energy easier and more fully. And this also goes along with like putting the right supplements in our body. And it's, I mean, there's definitely like proven data that do not get the right nutrients in our American diet. Like, it's just not something that we do anymore. So
should we just use our intuitive? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So yeah, right now just use your intuition. Don't feel like you have to go out and buy all of these at once, because one, you'll be frustrated, and two, like Logan said, just start with magnesium and a good, if you can find a good probiotic, prebiotic, they are roughly $50 a bottle, and all that advice that he gave was perfect. Then.
Okay.
Then those are kind of where you want to start with. So we'll, Logan and I will work together to create an ongoing document, and then we'll post that for you guys in the next couple of days. We'll shoot for Wednesday.
Yeah, and we'll also, like, I'll make sure that we do this, but we'll section it in like what is most cost effective to be taking, because like these things get expensive. Like, me and Betsy, we're both like chronic health freaks, so
but
we tend to spend too much money on these things. It's an investment, exactly. And like, but like she said, or like I said, we'll put it in subsections. Magnesium is probably the most important. And like, even if you're not taking an expensive probiotic, it's still important to be taking a prebiotic, which you can get really cheaply, because probiotics bind to the prebiotic. So even if you're just taking a fiber supplement, you are still starting to build up good bacteria on top of that prebiotic fiber. Mm-hmm. So if you had to cut it down, prebiotics, magnesium, and vitamin D are all really inexpensive things. They're not, they don't take much effort, and they're all cheap. So those are probably my three most important. Once you get into the more expensive stuff, fish oil is really expensive, but it's a really, really important thing to be getting, because it's like salmon's stupid expensive. You don't want to be trying to eat that every day. And it pretty much your entire brain is comprised of DHA and EPA, which are the different types of fat in fish oil. And those are what help you build new neurons and like do all that good stuff that you want your brain to be doing.
Growing your consciousness while expanding your consciousness.
Exactly. Yeah. But good fish oil supplements are expensive, so that's definitely on the less important end. But that's also probably one of my top 3 or 4 supplements is fish oil. Yeah, prebiotics, probiotics, vitamin D, magnesium, and fish oil are my most important ones if I had to break it down to 5 things.
Yep. Yes. Thank you very, very much. That's wonderful. You articulate that way better than I do, because I'm just like, take this and this, and I don't know why. I just do because it makes me feel better. I know at the time, I do the research when the thing is in my hand and I'm buying it, but then I'm like, yep, out one ear, and that's why I'm not a biologist. I actually went to school to be a biologist. That didn't happen.
If you guys do want to dig really deep into this, is just one more little quick thing. Something that helped me get to understand nutrition and biology a lot better. There's a podcast called Bulletproof Radio. I really like it, but the guy on there is stupid smart. They refer to themselves as biohackers, because a lot of times they won't follow what the standard medical guides will say. They go outside and they test other things, and like they don't follow what are they called, the recommended daily amounts or whatever, because those are bullshit. Don't listen to those. They are actually were made like over 100 years ago, and they were pretty much just designed to like be the bare minimum that you need to not get rickets and die. Like, what we need to like function highly as humans is much different. And usually your body will tell you when something's not sitting well. If you're taking too much magnesium, you're gonna have trouble in the bathroom. Too much vitamin D is not good as well. So like not above like 5,000 milligrams usually, or IUs or whatever they're called. Yeah, sorry, I'm giving way too much information on health stuff. Let's get back to what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. No, thank you.
But if any of you guys do have questions separately, feel free to like reach out to me.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Oh, beautiful. That's why, like, you know, we create this safe container to be able to share and help one another and learn and grow in this experience. So, what we're going to continue learning tonight, I want to touch on boundaries and shielding. And next week, when we do, even though it'll be mostly the attunement, but next week we'll talk about energy exchange and the 3 pillars of Reiki. So tonight we're going to talk about boundaries, shielding, and we're going to learn a technique called dry bathing. Some of you might already know this, but when I'm talking about boundaries, I am referring to your energetic boundaries. And this is, I will send you all a more in-depth meditation for this, but energetic boundaries are, if you're an empath, and I hate to assume, I'm not supposed to assume, but let's pretend like we're all empaths. And an empath is someone who they have various abilities, but one thing they can do is they pick up on other people's energies, and sometimes they leave with other people's energies. Have you guys ever gone and talked to a friend, and like, you know, friendships are there for many, many reasons, but have you ever had a friend that just repeatedly complains and vents to you, and just like every time you talk with them, and then you start to notice this pattern of like every time you leave a conversation with them, you're just exhausted. You're just like, and like, you're like, why do I feel this way? And you might realize that what you're doing is you're, even though you're being a great friend of listening to them, but you're also leaving with their stuff. You allowed them to put that they needed to complain about and vent about onto you, and you willingly carried it out the door because it's a choice. So what I want to talk to you guys about today are energetic boundaries and shielding and dry bathing, and we're going to learn those techniques tonight. So at the beginning, we did the gas home meditation, which is bringing the hands together at heart center, placing the thumbs into the heart space, and concentrating on the palm chakras. And so every morning, I know of a sign that you should be doing your the 5 Reiki ideals and then a prayer. And now I want you to begin focusing on the center of the palms, anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes during your meditation. What you're doing when you're doing that is you're becoming more concentrated on the centers where Reiki will come out of, and that'll be very important. So if you guys can, just like with your Boysen scanning, if you guys can continue to practice that at least 3 times this week, if not every day, it's going to lend itself to strengthening your ability to give Reiki in that healing capacity, especially after you receive that Reiki 1 attunement. So just that meditation that we did at the beginning, and I'll record one and send to you all. But just focusing on the palm chakras. And so after you have taken time to settle in and kind of focus in that area and just let your awareness rest in your palms, from your palm centers, I then want you to imagine, just follow your intuition and imagine whatever color you see between your palms as an energy. And this energy is loving and compassionate, but it is also strong and firm. And I think Taylor mentioned earlier is that she's learning, as we all will learn at some point, the importance of saying no. And that is a gift. It might seem odd at first, especially if you're a giver. If you categorize yourself as a giver, then saying no to people will feel really, really odd. But what it does is it allows you to say yes to the things that come from your heart space. It allows you to say yes to you. So with the palms at heart, with the palms together and at heart center, imagine a beautiful color coming from those palm chakras, from those palm centers. Listening to the intuition, begin to allow a sphere of light in that color growing from the palm chakras and growing out. And this will expand just wide enough, just long enough, and deep enough to surround your entire body. And there is no right, there is no wrong, there just is what is, and allow it to be. And this color, it grows and surrounds you completely. And though it is permeable, you set the intention that it is only permeable to those things that are for your highest good. And that it also allows you to release those things from your energetic body, from your physical body, from your mind, from your spirit. It allows you to release the things that do not serve your highest good. And it allows you to send those things out. It's porousness, and it does not re-enter. So I want everyone to take 5 minutes now. And if you weren't practicing that along with me, which I did not give you instructions because I wanted you to have the opportunity to either take notes or go ahead and practice it right then and there. But I want you to take 5 minutes and come back into the gas home meditation, focusing on the palm chakras, and then focusing on expanding that shield. That's what it is. It's a shield around you. That porous, strong, firm, and loving shield. If the awareness drifts into thought patterns, simply acknowledge that, but then bring it back to the awareness of that shield around you. Notice its color. Notice its density. Notice what material it is made of. Notice if your intuition is inviting you to release and let go of anything through this permeable shield. Your highest self is granting you permission to let go. Notice if there's anything your highest self would like to invite in through this shield. Your highest self gives you permission to do so. You are divinely guided and protected at all times. You merely need to bring awareness and practice strengthening the shield and allowing it to surround you on a regular basis. Each time knowing that it will become stronger and stronger. When you're ready, you can slowly reopen your eyes. Take a couple of deep breaths. Does anybody have any questions or want to share their experience with that shielding technique? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm down. Yeah, I felt a lot of energy just radiate around my entire body and outwardly, like it was outside of my body, so almost like an energetic field or a barrier, just surrounding my body, almost like a bubble. And it was just vibrating at an increasing rate as I breathed and pulsating with my heart rate almost. So as I breathed into my heart space, I noticed that it would continue to pulsate. As I exhaled, it released, and I did almost hear guidance, I feel like, from my higher self to just let go and release, surrender everything that is no longer serving me. And that was a beautiful thing. It was just like, yeah, I need to let go. Like literally just release it. Like, take this from me.
Yes, yes. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Holy crap. For me, I don't know if we have any Harry Potter fans in here, but like for me it was like imagining the Patronus charm, like the one they depicted in the movies, not the one that turns into an animal, but like the that kind of shape of shield coming from each palm and then like creating a full barrier around you. But mine was like really colorful, and yeah, that was just an awesome experience. I'm just, excited to be a part of it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Hi.
Mm.
I'm still pretty new to meditation with the hands here. I noticed a lot of pain radiating through my spine up to my neck, and I felt that the longer I could push myself to be still, I could release the pain. Is that something that will go away the more I practice? Because I know people have practiced for years and I just started in September, so I know it's just going to take a little bit more time.
Yeah, absolutely. And just setting, I also work with some inflammation and pain in my body, and just um, that's something you can ask to be released as well. But you can also lay down, make yourself comfortable while you do that, and you can still ask to release pain within the physical body. It's also probably within the emotional body. So I tend to say both. I release pain in the physical and emotional body. So yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, and so we're gonna learn one more technique to close out. I will ask you all, we'll end by standing for this technique. So if you can stand up, and hopefully everybody can, I have to adjust my screen. Okay, so what we're doing is dry bathing. You can also, I usually do this in conjunction with smudging, just to give myself that like extra boost. If you don't have, sage or Palo Santo or wheatgrass to smudge with, no worries. You do not have to smudge with this technique. But this is dry bathing. We're simply clearing the energetic body. It's great to do, especially at the end of a Reiki session that you're offering, even one that you've done on yourself, and also at the beginning. But more importantly, it's great to do it at the end. So we start by bringing your right hand to your left shoulder, and do this along with me. And you're going to swipe down and across the body all the way over to the right hip. And you do that 3 times. And you're just brushing off anything that doesn't serve you here. And when that's done, I always just kind of shake the hand out, just follow your intuition. Bring your left hand to your right shoulder 3 times across the torso, right shoulder all the way across the body to the left hip. Brushing down, and go ahead, make sure you swipe the energy out and away from you. And then I like to brush down the front of the body, all the way down the legs, 3 times. Bend the knees generously as you kind of fold here. So you're going from shoulders down to the legs, if you can brush over the feet. When you've done that, extend your left arm, right hand to left shoulder, brush down the arm 3 times. You can do underside or the back of the hand and brush under the arm 3 times. And you're just flicking the energy away. Remember, you still have that permeable shield that is able to help you release these things through it and not invite those things back in. Extend out the right arm, same thing. 3 times across the top. 3 times across the bottom. I'll turn sideways here. the sides of the body, you can do the torso, you can go all the way down the legs if you want. Kind of starting under the armpits and working your way down, bending the knees generously if you fold a little bit. The back of the body, same thing. Bring your hands as far up on the rib cage as you can and just brush down. The back of the shoulders, both sides. And then finally, we're going to do the head. Bring both hands to the crown of the head. Spread the fingers wide, and you're just going to brush down around and then to the back of the head, down the neck, and out. So let me show you from the back. Here's the crown of the head, the sides and around, down the neck, and out.
Hey, Betsy, if you're trying to show us, you might have to turn your video on.
Oh, my video's not on?
Nope.
Oh, man.
We were just kind of going off your voice.
Okay. Oh, it shows that it's on. That's so weird. Well, it shows that my video's on, but I guess if you guys can't see it, sorry. Thanks for letting me know that. Well, anyways, yeah, you guys can go off my voice. That's fine. Top of my head and down. But that was the last of it. So, did everybody get through that? Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep, I'm good. That was nice.
Yeah, and just like, if you're still staying, if you sat back down, that's fine too, but just take a moment, just come to silence. If you want to bring the hands to heart center, and just notice what you notice. Notice what you notice about the body, any sensations. Notice what you notice about the mind. Notice what you notice about the heart. And finally, noticing what you notice about the spirit. That true north, that higher self-guidance. Beautiful. Thank you all. Thank you all so very, very much for a wonderful evening. I am going to hold space for about 10 to 15 minutes after, but I do want to be respectful. We have been on the call for 2 hours, and if you need to go ahead and do so after I, say these last few lines. But if you want to stay and ask any questions from those experiences, feel free to do so, or you can always ask them on the Facebook group. So for now, we'll bring hands to heart center. We will do closeout here. Bring hands to heart center. Focusing the awareness at the palm chakras. Take 3 deep and full breaths here. I see you, I hear you, I feel you, I am you. The highest in me honors and sees the highest in each of you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. In bed.
That was amazing. Like, literally, like, I'm so thankful and grateful for this experience. Thank you so much for facilitating.
Yes, absolutely. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question about the smudging.
Yes, go for it.
Why 3 times? I know 3 is like a positive number within a lot of things, but like, why do we cross each thing? Can we not just like, like hold the smoke at the bottom and let it just like go all over us, or is it important that we cleanse each stone and
So
do that multiple times?
are you talking about for smudging or for the dry bathing?
I thought we'd be doing both at the same time.
Yeah, you can do one and
I
then
think
the
both
other.
being kind of
Yeah, both would be very helpful. So the smudging, you can just go around the body, the aura once, and you'll be fine.
okay.
Yeah, with the dry bathing, they just do 3 times. It's the way the technique is taught, but it's just like I know it's the same kind of you do an energetic dry bathing at the end. It's just called aura clearing at the end of each Reiki session that you give. Usually you just do it above their body. Sometimes you can brush down the arms or their legs. But it's just clearing the energy. I think 3 times is like a number of strength. Because when we think about, this is totally my interpretation, when you think about like a triangle, it is just the epitome of like strength in geometry, I believe. You probably know more about that than I do. But yeah, so that's a great question. But that's just.
Could I chime in on that?
Sure, yeah, please.
Yeah, like I was doing research on like numerology and a lot of stuff like that, and even Nikola Tesla said like 3, 6, and 9 are the universal tones of the universe. Like they're universal numbers that are coded in our DNA. So it's interesting to think about just as a concept that these things are existent, prevalent in our bodies already. So going with that tone, it's just like when you said 3, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm totally down for this, because it was just like it just resonates with my soul and the essence of like the universe. I feel like in some sort of way.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely, and it shows up. 3 commonly shows up in other religions as well. You have like Mother, Maiden, Crone.
Yeah.
Holy Trinity.
Holy
Yeah.
Trinity. Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
3 Musketeers. Menage a
Yeah.
Trois.
3 Little Pigs.
Yeah. It turns up a lot. Yeah.
All right. Does anyone have any other questions or want to share anything from your experience?
I definitely felt the clearing, and like my higher self definitely told me to thank you, so I did that already. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you again for that. That was just like it's necessary to know the proper protocol on clearing your aura. So I think that was definitely like something that I need to get down and learn how to do. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that might be something that I add to my morning routine, just as like a quick smudge or something.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Oh, I have one more question.
Yes.
Now usually in the morning, like when I do my routine too, I do smudge often. Now that I have smudge, I didn't have it before for a minute because I was in a short stock. But I usually try to sage in the morning and then do Santo as well over that. Is that, you think that's a positive thing to do, or you think that is it too much to do every day, or should I do it like once a week, or how should I take that about?
Yeah, you
Or
can
just do
totally.
as the intuition calls?
Yeah, just do as your intuition calls. Smudging every day is beneficial, but it's not like necessary, I guess you could say. So just totally listen to your intuition, and it's the same thing with Reiki, like smudging, unless you like catches on fire, which be careful of that. Smudging and Palo Santo and clearing it's only going to become better the more that you do it. So you're not going to cause any harm. So great question.
Okay, cool.
I think we may have talked about this before, but honestly, I don't remember. Some people are really particular about windows being open during saging specifically, not with Palo Santo, but with sage. Supposedly, like if there are negative spirits in the house, that like they're basically just trapped and like getting pissed off because you're trying to shoo them away with no doors for them to leave through.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't necessarily know that I personally subscribe to that. However, I will say like every fall and every spring when the temperature is like that beautiful mix of perfect, like not too cold, not too hot, I do open my windows and like do a full heavy smudge of everything, go around all the doors and the windows. But I'm just someone who like one way to think about it is it's not necessary for the doors or windows to be open every single time. That's my opinion. If you're setting the intention to cleanse and clear the energy as you're smudging, which I do recommend doing, you know, I cleanse and clear the energy. I cleanse and clear the energy as you're smudging. But we also want to think about at some point, you do want to let your windows and your doors be open because moving energy is better than stagnant energy. And so when we think about, you know how it feels better to like when the temperature is right to roll your windows down in your car versus to have your air conditioning on. It's the same thing in your house, is it is good to let natural outside air kind of help circulate and move energy along versus letting it continue to be stagnant over time for like super long time. So does that answer your question? I hope so. So in short, I don't think it's necessary for every single time that you're smudging for your windows and your doors to be open, but occasionally I do find it helpful to let the energy flow through the house from the outside.
Okay.
Okay. Well, this feels like a good place to end, unless anyone's got, like, we got 5 minutes, so I could do one more question.
Oh yeah, I got one more. I
Okay.
got one question. Would you be putting the videos and the recordings of these sessions into the group drive?
Yes, they will be going
Okay.
into the group drive. I've been having some technical difficulties getting them uploaded, but I think I figured it out. So they
Okay,
should
cool.
be going in this week. And I think from the meditations, since we did several meditations in this one, I will shorten those and get you all shorter versions of the meditation portions from these, so you don't
Okay,
have to
that'd be
watch the
perfect.
thing.
Yeah. Thank you so
Heck
much.
yeah.
Yeah. All righty. Well, again, thank you all so very much. I cannot wait. And remember to continue your cleansing process, listen to your intuition for this week. And next week when we meet, we will be receiving our attunements and practicing meditation during receiving the attunement. So I will see you all then and talk before then, of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Betsy. Namaste.
Thank you all.
Namaste.
Thank you. Bye.